Hi fellas, my name's Al, also known as Dad with a Spanner. Basically today I'm going to be running through doing a very basic service on this car. This happens to be a Renault Laguna. It's a 2007 model, I believe it's the Mark II version, so it's a slightly newish shape. However, I'm just going to be running through a very basic service of what I'm doing today. So I'm going to be changing the air filter, going to be changing the oil filter, replacing it with a new sump nut and washer. I'm also going to be putting in some fresh oil, doing the coolant and screen wash. I've also got a new cabin filter or pollen filter that's going to be done as well today. So we're going to be getting on with a couple of things. Now, just to also make you aware, I was recommended by a friend to buy one of these. It's engine flush. It's made by a company called Wins. I'm by no means at all endorsed or sponsored by Wins, but it's just been told to use because it worked pretty well. So I'm going to give it a good go. Can form goes inside the engine. Basically, before you actually take out all of the oil to drain the old oil away. This is so it basically flushes out all the sludge and gunk that's inside. And what it will do is should do as it says on here to clean the engine internally. It neutralises all the acids and it prevents it sticking in internal components, and it just makes it run a little bit better. So we're going to be doing that. Now it does say that I have to bring the engine up to the operating temperature, and I'll need to switch off the engine, then add this whole contents into the used engine oil, which is obviously inside the engine. I'll then start the engine again and let it idle for 20 minutes. And then basically while it's still warm, so I'll let it cool down for a little while, probably 10 or 15 minutes, just so it will start to cool down enough for me to be able to work on it. But in that meantime, I'll be doing the other bits to the car as well. Now, as I said, I'm not endorsed by this company at all, so by all means use your own products, have a look around, see what you can get. But I paid £7 for this. Tried to shop as local as I could to get all the parts. I looked online and I was getting quotes for all the bits around about £78, nearly £80. I went to a local garage and basically they sourced everything that I needed for approximately £60. I think it was about £59 and a few pence. So I saved £20 and it was local, so I'm helping the local businesses as well as I didn't have to travel far to get it. So realistically it was a good deal. So always have a look around. There are better prices online for other things, but it's just an example. Now, as I said, I won't waffle on too much more, but I do need to let you know a couple of things. Basically, as I said, my name is Al. I'm just looking to try and save some money. I'm a dad with 3 kids, got a beautiful wife, but trying to do all these bits and things that I want to do for them, it costs a lot of money. So I'm looking at things all the time to try and maybe save some money and trying to look forward to learning new skills and doing some new things. Well, a little sort of secret dream is that I want to work on cars and bikes and old tractors and things like that. And I never really had the time, and I never really ventured down that path. So this is just one of the very early starting points that you can do to do some of this stuff. So as I said, we're going to be doing a very basic service. My son's going to come along and help us as well. He's only about 11 years old, so he's going to want to just try and help out like, do, and your father and son passage time, so I'm trying to help each other out, do all this. So, as I said, going to stop waffling on, but I'm a complete novice, so everything I do is going to be, learning curve. So I'm learning with you. Any tips and stuff, you're welcome to put in the comment section below. Obviously, please keep it clean and neutral because there'll be other people looking to learn this, and please don't be negative to others because it's just a learning curve. We're all trying to do our best to get by in life and work on each other's projects and things, and so any good tips, please feel free to leave them in the comment section. Now, as I said, we're going to be doing that very shortly, so I'm just letting this car idle. If you can see there, it is getting up to the temperature as it should do, so it's round about right in the slap bang in the middle of the temperature gauge, so I'm quite happy with that. As you can see, it does say the service light for the oil needs to be changed, so I'm going to be doing, as I say, a reset on that as well. But like I said, there are other videos to look at on the internet and on YouTube, so you can find all these different things to do. Now, one more disclaimer, I will be doing this, as I said, as a novice, so please, by all means, you do not have to stick to everything I'm doing on here. And even more so, if you feel unsure or you don't feel confident doing so, please speak to a decent mechanic friend that works within that field or go to a garage and have someone professionally look at this. I take no responsibility in you doing what you do on your vehicles, and obviously take it with a pinch of salt. As I said, I'm novice and I'm learning at this game as well. So like I said, I'm going to crack on, and I'll get back to you in just a moment. Right then fellas, so what we're going to do is my son's going to demonstrate on how to add this engine flush inside the engine. So he's going to now take off the cap and pull up the dipstick that's basically built into the cap. So he's going to pull this through. He's got a piece of paper, so he's going to basically catch it and like clean all of that excess oil that's going to be coming off of there. And as you can see, it looks pretty black, and it could do with some fresh oil in there. So what we're going to do is now he's just going to put that to one side and put that down, and then he's going to get the engine flush and he's going to pop it straight down into there. Now we do recommend you have a funnel to put this in, but I don't have one, so we're going to be doing it the old-fashioned way. So what he's going to do is going to bring it really close and then pour it straight in. Good lad, keep it going. So you pour the whole thing in, make sure it's all in there. Good lad. Right, and then literally he's going to put that down. He's going to replace now the oil dipstick back into the engine, and he's going to keep the cap nice and firm on top. He's going to put it down. That's it, good lad. That's it. Right, make sure you turn it and tighten it down. Try going the other way. There you go. Try it from there and pull it and then turn it in. That's it, push it down. Good lad. Does it look like it's firm in there? Yeah, good lad. Nice and wedged. So that's now good. So we're now going to restart the car. So we're going to... Got the key already in. And as per what it says on the instructions, we're just going to let it idle. Now with these Renaults, they are push to start. So you have a key system, rather like a card key system, as opposed to a key ignition, where most people would have the ignition box here. We don't have that. We have a card slot that goes in like such. Now, as you can see, it's now going to have to run for about 20 minutes. The temperature gauge is exactly where it should be, right in the middle. So we're just going to let that sit now for the 20 minutes and allow that to idle nicely so it goes through the engine. So it's going to clean out the engine by pulling out all the sludge, all of the gunk, all the rubbish that's been in there, and it's going to flush it through. So then when we drain it, it's going to all come out. It's not going to look very nice, but we'll show you what it's going to look like in a bit, and then we'll get that all there. So we'll be under that way shortly, and we're going to move on to the next bit, which is going to be changing the air filter very shortly. Right guys, so that's now idled for 20 minutes. I've obviously, with the power of editing, made you save having to watch 20 minutes worth of that. So obviously we're going to leave that now, and what we're going to do now is change the air filter. So what we're going to do is my son's going to demonstrate this by taking off first of all the battery housing case lid, basically, so it comes off. It's literally two little plastic screws, and then that's lifted up. Now the reason why we took that off is because when you change the air filter, you've got here 4 screws. Now this is your basically all your filter here. That's the housing, the sort of casing for it. You've got 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now you don't always have to take off all of them, but however we're going to be doing this. Now you can probably just see under here that there's a long piece of tube in this. This is because this one's quite a long piece. Now it might make it a bit more difficult. We don't always have to pull the whole thing out. We can just pull this up a bit, because obviously you want to make it as easy work as possible for yourself and save some time. So what my son's going to do now is going to take off these four screws. Make sure not to drop them, so put your finger there just to take off the last little bit if you feel that you can do it. Bit tough till, that's it, yeah. Bit more, there we go. You should be able to get that out now, do you reckon? Good lad. Right, another little tip for you here is obviously when you take these screws out, find a place to put them. So for example, we're just going to put them inside this box here, because obviously if you throw them on the floor, as you can see my floor's not particularly great and there's cracks and bits and pieces. There's cats that might want to eat them. As it will be, it just gives them a place to be safe. So obviously just remember that from where you put them. So he's going to do that. That's it. And he's going to go put that away in the other little section. And then what we're going to do is we'll come back to you in just a second regarding these next couple of bolts. Right guys, so just to show you on here, look, he's gonna pull it through, and he's going to show you how long this particular screw is, which is why it's a little bit easier sometimes to leave these in. There you go. So you see that's quite a length of a screw. So, but just remember, obviously that will be going back onto the right side. There is obviously just like a washers on this one, and there isn't one on that one, but it's not really as important. So we're just going to leave this one in a bit. As you can see, I've had a little break on there where it's been caught on something before. Let's see if I can get a bit of that.
It's here on the same side.
Yeah,
as well.
as you can see, it's just broken through, but as it goes down, it will lock in anyway when it screws in, so it should be okay as it is for now. So we're going to take this off now, and you're going to see what... Okay, so here we go. What my son's going to do now is just going to lift up the housing unit. I'll give him a hand to hold it up a little bit as well. But as you can see, there's the air filter, and just a top tip, remembering the way it went in is the way you've got to put your new one in. So if you can see how filthy that is, look at the dirt and all the grime. It's not pretty at all. You know, you wouldn't want to take her to the ball. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace it now with a fresh one, and you can also see in there, you can try and get in there with a little bit, but obviously with the amount of space we've got, because obviously it's connected to the housing, he's going to try and put in a bit in there and see if you can just get rid of some of that rubbish. And just chuck out all those leaves. Do you see the leaves in the corner there? That obviously doesn't help the performance of your car, and it stops airflow and things like that. So bits get in, and it's not always pretty. So we're just going to clean it out, and then we're going to come back to you. Right guys, so we've just cleaned that out a bit in there. It's a lot better than what it was, and now we're going to replace the air filter with the new one. So we're going to put that new one in now. There we go. So you can see this is the brand spanking new one. Look at that, nice and clean. The other one didn't look too bad, but obviously with all of that gunk and everything, it's sometimes worth just doing a fresh one.
It also had been hot glued on the bottom.
Ah, well that's probably to hold it together a bit more better, but it needs a bit of airflow. So it's going back inside now. He's going to put that in nice and gently, and it should just go down nice and firm. Press it all the way around, and there you go. Look at that, and that is in there, fresh piece. Now that's going to help the car tremendously with the airflow into the car. So we're going to now put this all back, and we're going to go back in reverse order and do it. Alright guys, so what we're going to do is now we're now going backwards as we did. So my son's going to start putting that back in. That's it, it's going to go down. That'll do, just for a minute. Then we're going to do the next one, make sure it all lines back up. That'll do for the minute. Now we get the other screw, and then we're going to do this one, and then this one, and that's your air filter virtually done. Just retighten the last screws just to make sure. That's it, and then the next screw. There we go, and then the last one's just going in. And then what we're going to do is
it aligns itself as it goes in.
Yep, and we're just going to make sure they're just in tight enough. Don't want to over tighten it and so it won't just through, but you want to make sure that it's held down. Yep, wedged in, same again. Just a little bit, that's it, that'll do. And then the others, and then that's it. Okay guys, so that's all back on. So that's the air filter change. So high five, well done. So that's the air filter done. So that was Tristan, my son. We call him T. So he's T with a spanner, or son with a spanner. And we're gonna, as you can see, look at that. It's not good at all.
It's stuff in it.
Yeah, it's not going to help it at all. So right, so the next thing we're going to work on now is the pollen filter, which is also known as the cabin filter, and we're going to get that sorted right now. Right then, fellas. So what we're going to do now, this is where the area where the pollen filter is basically going to be housed. It's behind this unit. Now you've got a couple of things to look at when you're doing this. You've got up here, now mine's just come out slightly where it locks in with a little clip, and there's another one up here, and you've got there basically the little locking mechanism towards the glove box. Now that will need to be pushed back when you pull out because it's got a slight lip on it here which catches to lock it in place. So what we need to do is just inside here, which you might be able to see with if I bring this closer to you, inside here you've got another star screw bit that needs to go in there. It's awkward with the light, but basically you've got to take that out first, And then you've got to remove from the bottom here, put a flathead inside here to pull this out. Now it's going to be, there's another one at the top as well which you have to watch out for, but it's not going to be too difficult. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask my boy just to hold that for us there. I'm going to take this out. Okay, so that was simple as that. It's if you can just see that, I don't know if you can see that, but that's the type it is, and it will come out pretty quickly. Now I'm just going to put this on the seat for now because it's literally right here, and then because there's no other bits here, you can see it's already fairly loose, but we're going to use this flathead. This might be a bit too big for the job to pull it out. Might have to get a slightly smaller one. Here you go, so I'll try this one instead. There we go. And as you can see, that lifts up, and as it does so, you should be able to pull this out. And like so, it should come out. Just remember to watch this corner here. Now the light fitting is just hanging there, so do be careful with that. And pull this to one side, and as you can see here, this is where the actual air filter is. Can you see that in there? Is that alright? This is going to be air filter. Now this is a little bit tricky to pull out purely because you usually have two screws. Now from what I can see, it doesn't look like there's... It doesn't look like they're in there. So I'm just going to
jiggle it about.
Give it a little wiggle, yeah, and a jiggle. Right, so right guys, so basically what I had to do, this one for some reason didn't have any screws, so it's usually supposed to have two there. So I reckon the previous owners, someone in the past, has basically not had those put back in. So I'm not going to worry too much about it, but it does basically lock in with a little clip. And it's just behind here, so what we can do is you literally just pull it out. Now look at that.
That's why.
Now we've noticed recently that the car wasn't smelling particularly great, so decided to get this. But if you look in there, look at the crud all in there. That is what is in that cabin filter, and that's going through for you to breathe in. So the reason is that's why you need to clear it out. So it looks revolting, and it pretty much is. So what we're going to do is we're going to change that now, and we're going to get that back to you in a second. Right guys, so as you can probably see, as I said, it was full of rubbish. So a bit of a tip is to, if you can get a hoover out here, would be handy, but I've got an absolutely pants hoover at the moment, so it's probably going to be better just to use a brush. If you can get something slightly smaller, it would be easier. But just to catch all that loose stuff, just pop it underneath and just give it a quick brush out. There's absolutely, it's like a bee or a wasp in there. There's all sorts of things that seem to be just falling out. And the reason I'm asking you to do this is just because when you pull it out, it's going to go everywhere in your car, and you don't want that rubbish everywhere. So as you can see, just from pulling it out there, there's all that there. It is revolting.
Disgusting.
So what we're going to do is we're now going to pull it out. Now the best way just to get it out is to get it with your, is just to get your flathead or something like that, and just to, like, literally just pop it in. As you can see here, it's going to be really tough to pull out. And as you can see there, look, it's just nasty. It's not nice.
Yeah, you don't want to touch that.
There we go. So just to grab the it underneath. Now I have seen worse than this. This isn't the worst thing I've seen, but look, there's bits of tree and all sorts in here. That's going through the car, and it's cleaning from the air, and you're breathing this in. So for kids with allergies, or even, you know, adults with allergies and things like that, dust and pollen, change this, you know, every 3,000 miles on a service, just because it's really important. It might not be that it's that dirty, but considering it's going for your health and for your kids' health, you know, it's worth just changing it over. Now, just again, to make a note of it, if you can see here, there's an arrow pointing up, well, in this case it's going down. Well, whoever put that in, put it in upside down. So there's obviously that reason to why it was that way. So I'm going to put mine back in the other way. But as I said to you,
still in there.
yeah, I'm going to try and get a little bit of that out in there, and just to give it a bit of a clean.
So put it in the right way. Because it could be bad.
like I said, if you've got a hoover for this job, it will make it 10 times better for you. But like I said, if you haven't got that, then you're just going to have to make do with a brush. And like I said, that's what I've got, a brush, and it's doing the job just as well. So we'll just give that a bit of a wipe. Okay. Now this is the fresh one. Look at that, lovely shiny, lovely white, fresh and clean as a daisy. So this is going to be much better for you. Now, as you can see there's the arrow there. I'm going to put it in this way because it's clearly pointing up. So I'm going to pop this back in. Just pop that in there. And there, it is as simple as that. Just replace this. Now, as I said to you, you should have obviously some screws to go in with this, but for some reason it wasn't there. So you can do that if you wish to, but mine did just clip in. You got the clips in, it just locks in. So it's as easy as that. Also, it does stay on there top and bottom, so you know which one it goes in. So literally just pop it back, and it should just give it a push. And that is it. That is your pollen filter change. So all we've got to do is just go back reverse order of popping this all back together. What we're doing is just replacing it back in here. Now, a bit of a tip for you. That light is a bit of a bugger to stay up, as it will just drop down because it slots into the top here into a little groove, so where it fits. Now, a tip would be to get just a tiny bit of clear tape and just to hold it up, tack it up to the top, so easier to put it back in, because it was a little bit awkward just putting that back in. But however, it should now slot back in as it is. And as we do that, you line up the hook mechanism for your glove box, the one at the top.
It's a bit dark in there.
You can just see it there. Okay, there it is. And the other hooks are just behind there and there, and you have this other one down here. It literally should drop just back in. And that will hold off there. Now, as I said, my one was a bit awkward at the beginning, so I'm not really too fussed with that. But if you really are a perfectionist, you can just literally pull it back out and lock them all in and so on. But mine was like that, so I'm not really too fussed. So the last thing to do is just put that screw back in, which is here. And guys, we have just now changed the pollen filter, or the cabin filter, whichever you prefer. It's going to make the car smell a lot better, you're going to have a lot of fresher air, it's going to work out very well for us. So right, that's that one done. We're now going to move on to using the coolant. Okay guys, so we're going to now attempt probably the most hardest part that most people will find a challenge, is doing an oil change, putting fresh oil and taking out the old oil. Now, it may seem a bit weird why I've got, say, like a hacksaw and sort of things like that. Sometimes you've got some very stubborn bolts that you just cannot get rid of, so you may need this. But as it was going to be, we've got the bucket basically like a bowl, just so that it can, it's only like a cheap bowl from a pound shop or something, and all it's going to do is it's going to basically catch all the draining oil that we're going to take from underneath the car. Now, you've also got the sump plug there that's going to be changed over, and we've also got a new cartridge filter, and we've got the oil, and we've got the socket set that goes specifically for the plug. Now, these aren't commonplace, they're not in all ratchet sets and things like that, so you're going to have to look for a square socket. 8mm is normally the standard for a lot of cars. It is for Renault, so we're going to use the 8mm one of that. I was very kindly lent these by a friend of mine who's also a mechanic himself, so he said to me to use these, because you can buy them separately on your own for wherever you want to get them from for a few quid, but just to borrow for one for this one off at the moment, until I can have some more money to invest, that's what we're going to use. So I've got a silver pen there just to mark on there for the mileage of underneath. It's just purely to say like where you know when you changed it all, so if you can't remember. The other thing is it's got two little bricks there. They're just to go on the rear of the car, because I've got these ramps that are up. It's just a little added protection to stop it from rolling backwards a bit further. Just gives us an extra couple of seconds if anything was to happen, but should be okay. So we're just going to go put them on now, and they'll be ready to roll. So there you go, just put it underneath there, just give it a little wedge for your foot, just so that's a little added extra protection. You'll be surprised, just anything that just gives you some extra safety is always advised. Okay, just to make you aware, safety eyeglasses is always recommended. I've got mine on too, but you don't want to see my face. So, like I said, we're going to crack underneath by having a look underneath the
Really cat?
underneath the car, and we're going to see what it's like. Right, just another little top tip for you here, guys. Bits of cardboard. It's going to be more comfortable to lay on than the concrete floor, and as you can see, mine's all sort of like stones and pebbles and things. It is flat and it's a flat surface, but however, it is more harder to lay on. So basically, we're going to. Yes, guys, as I was saying, there's yeah, we've got cardboard there just purely for the comfort, but it's also a practical use for any oil that does fall or drain, that goes, you know, splatters about. It saves it going on your driveway, and you can just chuck this away in your recycling and it's not an issue. So it's worth having. So we're going to crack underneath there now and have a quick look. Right, guys, just to do one final check on the car before you obviously got the ramps and everything in place, do give it a bit of a wobble. It does feel very stable. It's not going to move off, so just because of that, it just saves you a bit of effort in case anything's a bit slippy or a bit dangerous. If you feel it's a bit worrying, don't do it. Realign it, put them back on again and try again. Get a second pair of eyes to help line it up. It always helps, even if it's, you know, your neighbour, if you haven't got your partner or anyone around. But if you've got the missus or even your husband to come and help you, you know, whatever it's going to be, have a look. Right, guys, so we're getting to probably the most hardest part of this job now, which is basically taking off the bottom cover panel, which is underneath the Renault Laguna. Now, as you can probably see here, this is one of the 6 nuts that's going to be needing bolts and to be taken away. Now, this is going to be difficult because I'm pretty sure this isn't going to come off so easy. So I've got 2 options how I might work with this in a little bit, but I'm going to take these off bit by bit, and you can see up here, so here's another one. You just might be able to see it. There we go, so there's another one, it's underneath
really,
here.
like, driven down. So
what we're going to do is we're going to try and take this off. Now these are for a 10mm bolt. So I've got the... plug that in.
It's hard to see.
Now, as I thought, this one's going to be the same sort of problem. I might have difficulty with this, so I'll come back to this one in a moment. Right, so we're going to go up to the other side.
To the other side.
So as you can see now, this is the one starting to come loose. Now, I'm quite a big chap, so getting under here is hard work. And I'm not thinking I'm being modest here. I'm about 19 stone, I'm a big guy. So getting under here is quite difficult. Now, there's the screw, and it comes with, obviously, with a washer to go underneath for this basically cover panel. So make sure you don't lose them. Now, as again, I told you I am wearing eye protective wear. I'm using a socket set to take these off. Just works a little easier in spaces. There's probably other tools that you can use that are far more probably better, but we're just doing our best with what we've got here. So, and this is what I happen to have. Like I said, there's no real decent tools you have to buy. It's just general stuff. There is, as I said, that square socket that needs to go into for an internal sump, but other than
the
that,
electric screwdriver.
you could use a normal hand screwdriver.
It's just a lot easier too.
It just saves a bit of time when you're doing these things. This one's a little bit tricky to come loose. It is getting there, but...
Also, when changing oil, you need to wear gloves because oil on your skin isn't great. It stains your skin.
Top tip. Gloves are good. That's why I'm wearing them. That's why you're wearing them. It just, and it's also like, you know...
If you don't want your hands dirty.
I've been told of trying to get this stuff off isn't very easy on your skin. One of the ones to use, a cleaning abrasive, is for your skin. Soft is called Swafiga, and it comes in normally a red little tub with a green lid, if I remember right. Swafiga is really good. It helps get rid of lots of oil off your hands. I think they even use it on animals that have been caught with lots of oil on them in the ocean. So if it's good for the animals, it's good for me. Right, so we've got another one here. Now, if you can hear anything fall in there...
Yeah, I heard something.
That's my coins out of my pocket. Nothing Brilliant. It's not like a bunch of gold rings or anything.
Yeah, I wish.
Yeah, we're slowly getting there. Right, if you want to pause that for a minute, son, we'll come. Right, fellas, just want to make you aware. Obviously, I've taken all of the panel bolts off apart from one, and that's this one. And this is a bugger. What it's done is that you can't actually. It just keeps threading itself. It won't seem to come off. Nothing's coming from it loose. So I'm going to have to cut it off with a hacksaw, just a little mini one, and then I'll come back to you in a second. All right. Right, guys, just to let you know, I have been at this for about 15 to 20 minutes, if not longer. This is what was causing the problem. I've had to hacksaw, and you can see I've probably done a rubbish job at it, but it was the top bolt, which was, if we have a look in here, right, was down there in one of those little holes there. Now, the problem I had, I think it was the first one closest to us, the bigger one. Basically, it was, the bolt was in there and it was just loosing round and round and round. You couldn't. I tried putting down an extended socket set to hold it in place whilst trying to cut it, but it was extreme difficult. It just kept turning round and round and round. I did remember someone telling me once about putting a rubber band over the area, but I couldn't access it very easily from underneath because obviously I had the panel still there. But the panel has come loose now. It's come down, so we're going to now put that to one side and then look at the crankcase and start getting rid of the oil. Right, guys, so this underneath here is basically where the sump is, where you've got to drain it all now. My one, as I've just looked under here, whoever had it previous or did it before, has done some sort of extra sealant on it. I'd imagine it's just to help hold it in place. I'm certainly hoping I haven't got to do this because I haven't got any sealant, but basically this is the actual area where it goes into. Now, you need a sort of a square socket set for it to go into, which I happen to have ready. It's this size and it'll just go in. I'll just show you here. Now on here it does show 8 and 13, but however the 8-bit will go in, standard size 8mm, and then I've got on the end of this, of my socket there, I have a 15, so a 15mm. So what that will do, if you want to put that in there for us, son, it locks inside, and then that way you can pop it in, and when it's time to undo it, it will lock in and you can do it. Now, I'm not going to do it just yet because obviously my son's right underneath it and he's going to get covered in oil, which we don't want. So I've got the bucket and we're going to start draining it. Now, as I said, I'm a big chap. I haven't got a lot of space to work with here, so we're just going to do it as bit as we can. So I'm going to pass you over. So watch that doesn't fall on you.
Ah! Where's it gone? There it is.
There we go. Right. So we're just gonna adjust ourselves. Right, here we go. So we're going to give it a try. This is the first time. Oh.
I bet it's going to like go everywhere.
Oh, I feel that is extremely tight. It's really on there. Oh, there we go. Good crank. Right, here we go. So it's going to start pouring any moment. Here we go.
Now remember, gloves.
Right, so we should be able to start that, and that should start to pour out any second. There we go. Look at that, it come out straight away. That
Basically a waterfall.
Horrible. Now we're going to let that drain for a bit.
So much of it. It's like a
so people can see what's going on.
It's like a pillar. That's how much liquid is in your car. Oh, it really does not smell nice. Wow. It's already filled up the bucket pretty much. The bucket is halfway full. And it's still going.
Right.
Oh, it's starting. It's starting.
We'll come back to them in a second. Now, just showing you here, this is sort of like the last bits, but that is a standard size washing up bowl, as it would be, and look how much has come out. You're looking about 4 to 5 litres worth of oil there, and it is black as black. I'm talking black as Newgate's knocker, mate. It is black. Now I'm just letting the last bits dribble and drain out. It's just gonna, I'm just gonna let them literally just get as much as it can out of it, purely because I want to get obviously all the best stuff in and get rid of all this stuff. And it is starting to spray under here, and the wind's here. I haven't got a lot of space. As I said, I'm a big chap as well, so it doesn't help. So, like I said, we're going to put the sump nut back in a second, the fresh one, a new one, and seal it tight. And then we're going to go on to the oil filter, and we'll change that over. Just to mention, my son was just saying keep it in a ventilated area, which is a good idea, purely because it isn't smelling very nice. But then I could imagine that's probably part of the engine flush going through, getting rid of all of that crud and sludge and grime. So as I said, yeah, we'll come back to it in a second, and we're going to put the sump nut back in the new one. Okay, so this is what we're going to use, this sump plug here. This is one with a new washer. I was always taught and told by people that if you're going to replace this plug, which you should do really with every one, you can use the old one as well, but because it's full of gunk and all the old rubbish and bits and pieces, you might as well get a new one. It was inexpensive, it was a couple of quid, and it comes with that new washer, and it's a copper washer, so it's just going to make it a little bit more better for you when we put it on. Right then guys, so it's now coming to the last little drip, so we're going to now replace the new sump plug. And what we're going to do is my son's going to wipe it all away, because you need to try and just give it a good old clean. It will drip a little bit, but like I said, as long as it's a cleanish surface, that's what we're looking for.
Oh,
so yeah, don't worry too much about that. So what we're going to do is we'll take the excess bit away, okay, and then what we're going to do now is we're going to put the new one in. Now remember to move the bucket away, because you don't want to drop your new sump nut in there. So it's going to go in. That's it, just turn it round.
This way.
Yeah, try it. If you want to just put it in with your hand for the minute, just to screw it in, and then that might be a bit easier.
I need to move this.
Sorry. There we go. Give it another try.
That's why you move the bowl away. Is the flag falling in?
Is it going in?
Yeah.
Look at that. Oh, good try. Hold on, we'll try it again. These things happen. This is what it's all about. Trial and error and learning new things. Things will fall, things will fall off.
This is also making the oil stop dripping, as it has cut off.
The other way, I think, is that right? Is it tightening up?
I'm not sure.
That way, go that way, that's it. Way. Good lad. That's the way. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Now, as I say, when you get to the point of where it's ready to be tight, stop there. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to wipe away that last bit of excess.
There we go.
Okay, take that away for a second, pull that out. Wipe away the excess with a clean bit of tissue.
Correct.
Good lad. Always handy to have some of that fresh kitchen roll, or, you know, wipe. That's it, just give it a wipe.
Americans call it. Because, you know,
and then what we're going to do now is then we're just going to give it a half turn. Now this is basically where you pop it in, and you don't want to over tighten it. You want to just make sure that it's on there nice and firm. So pop it in, and then you give it a turn to you. Half turn, a bit more, and there. That's it. That's all you need to do.
So it can be removed at a later date.
Yeah. So basically we know that's on there. Now what we're going to do is we're also going to write on here with a pen to say when we changed it and how many miles it was. So bear with us a second, we'll come back to it. It stands out a little bit better for when we last did this now change. So we know we done it at 96,000 miles, if I can remember right off the top of my head. So I'm just going to write on here 96k, and that way we know. You can put today's date if you really wanted to, but you'll know it was changed at 96k. So I think, where's today's date?
It's the
13th of the 4th, 18, and that would be a good day to remember, because that was my dad's birthday. Unfortunately, he's not with us here anymore, so bless you.
Is it?
So yeah, it's Granddad's birthday today.
Nice. Let's go see him.
So we're doing something of what he would have done in his honour. He would have done this sort of stuff. So that's just on there. That's all done. All right. So we're gonna now change the oil filter. The filter is located on the Renault Laguna Mark II. It isn't actually it's a cartridge filter as opposed to a can or a block. So basically it's going to have to be turned and basically pulled off as it comes down. What will happen is some of the oil will fall down, so we're going to get the bucket back underneath again, the bowl underneath it again, and then I'll show you what it looks like compared to a new one, and you're going to be very, very surprised by what it looks like.
How do you safely get rid of oil?
You take it down to a local recycling centre. So in this case, we go to our local tip, and they will take it away for us. But obviously, we need to get it drained into another container because it's not going to be safe to transport in the car. All right. So, question: local recycling centre will take them. Speak to your local teams; they will give you a lot of advice about what they can do for that. Right. So we'll crack this off, and we'll have a look. Right, guys. I cannot tell you how hard that part of that job was to get that actual cartridge case off. In fact, it was so hard I've even virtually broke the bottom of this. Now I'll show you on here. You can see here, look how bad that is. It broke off. Now this will happen, unfortunately, to you if you want to do this in a garage. They've probably got specialist tools and everything, but if you look, that is the colour of the old one. It is absolutely disgusting. There's the new. Now of course oil is gonna, you know, make that change, but however, that you can't change your oil and put that back in, because that is going to be contaminating all of your engine. Now look, this is going to make things run smoother. It's going to be nice and clean. I mean, the oil here, this is what the oil is. I had an accident, I dropped my glove in there, so what a plonker. But you know, look how black that is. That is disgusting. Now that was going around my car and through the engine, and you think to yourself, oh, it's all okay. This is why it's essential. You need to change it. You need to make sure it's nice and clean. All right. Now I had to get my neighbour to come and help me with this. He's a mechanic by trade himself, and he had to come and help me crack this. It was because it was super tight on. I am not joking to you. I will not underestimate this bit of the job. It is the toughest part. So if you're doing it again and you're doing another one, be prepared. You may need to get a new case cover for that cartridge. It might be only a couple of quid, I don't know. I don't imagine it's a bit of plastic. I imagine it's not going to be expensive, but I don't know. We'll have to check that out. And there is a rubber seal around there, right at the base there. You can just about see it. Just there, it fits into that little line like a groove. It just bulbs out. So I'm going to put the fresh one that I've got with the case in there, and that cartridge, and I'm going to put that in there and put that back in, just give it a wipe. Anyway, I'll be back in a minute with that once I've finished it. Right guys, so I'm now underneath the car again. Just to say, I've just fitted this in. I've literally, all I've done is just re-tighten it back on. This is going to be a problem, I think, for later on, because I think as time goes on, the heat and expansion, it will sort of get stuck in there. The only thing I didn't show you in there is that in this cup, I put in just a small dribble of oil, just like a fresh oil, just basically so it starts off getting something in there straight away. I didn't do much, just as like, I don't know, you know, less than about 100 mils or whatever, just so it's in there, just so that we could literally, when it starts going through, it hasn't got to work its way through to get in there straight away with the oil. So like I said, it's just a small amount in there, but it does help out a little bit, as I was told. Now I've hand tightened this, and then I've tightened it again up with an adjustable spanner, purely because it was loose. Now I don't think I can get the light up there enough, but there is a small light here. Let's see if I can show you up there. There, that's the light, and it's now on there tighter than it would be by hand, so it's going to make it be more firm on there. But that was a bugger to deal with. So what I would just recommend you do is obviously take care with this one. You may need to buy a new plastic case. I think I'm going to have to invest in one in the future for the next job. I have to make a mental note of that. But yeah, it's all on there. So now we're going to go to the next stage, which is filling the oil into the engine. Right guys, just to make you aware, for the last thing I had to do before I put the oil in is I had to put the panel back on, which I've now done. It looks like someone had cable tied one of the points under here, just to sort of hold it more secure. I don't have any on me, so I have to remember to do that on a day off. But yeah, at the moment that's all secure. all nicely done. So last thing to do is put the oil now in. Now this takes a little bit of practice with what you've got to do, because I haven't got a funnel, but I'm going to have to put this in. But you need to obviously roll the car off the ramps, have it flat, and let it sit. And then we'll be there. So it'll be just a couple of seconds and I'll get that back in, ready to go. Right guys, I've got the car off the ramps. Obviously you don't turn over your engine when you're doing this, because obviously you've got no oil in there, so turning over your engine is going to be a bad idea. Now on the 2007 version of this Mark II Laguna, all you have to do is take off the electronic handbrake, and then it's best to have two people to do this job. It's really easier that way. Because you've got the ramps, you've got to slide it back, so you have to have someone to push while someone eases on the brake. Now I had my wife do this for me. She didn't ease on the brake very well. Yeah, I see ya. So basically we come down to an abrupt stop, but obviously it's a learning curve, you can work it as this. So now I'm going to put in this this oil here. It's a 5W30. I've got 5 litres there, and I said I just took up a few mils just to put in that cartridge of the oil filter. So we're now going to apply this in, put it in from the side as it drops in, because it's going to make it better. Now you don't want to fill it all the way up with all of that, even though you've took around about 5 litres nearly out. You need to try and gauge it and sort of keep dipping, you know, let it settle for a few minutes and then just dip it again and see where you are, because you want to make sure you got it right. So I'm going to put this in now, and then we'll check a dip and we'll see how it goes. All the lights are coming on. You can see that oil is flashing. Now I have already done the oil, I've put it all in, so we need to just move it towards, on the end of this stalk you see here, just pop that along until it gets to the very last bit, which is this bit here, and then you just hold it in for the reset. It should start to flash. There you go, to 0. Take 2. Hold your finger in. Alright, so it's flashing. 9,000 miles. So it's set to mine for 9,000 miles. So in 9,000 miles time it will need a change. And there we go. And I think I said 96 on my clock, but it was 94, so my brain wasn't as good as it was. Right, so we're going to just turn it off, take the key out, and then pop that back in, and it should theoretically disappear with the spanner light. Let's give it a shot. It's saying to top up the oil level. I did put 3.5. That might not be quite enough in there. I think I might have to put some more in, so we'll have a look at that in a second. Okay, so we're going to try that again. See how that works. It's still asking for a top up of the oil level. I'm a little confused because I've put in nearly all of it. I'll try, imagine it's a bit more. But it wouldn't ask it unless it felt like it was needing it. A lot of these are computer technology now with the CPU inside them. So just see if that comes on again. If it does.
No career path, is it?
Right guys, I'm running low on this battery as well as filming memory. According to what it says in the manual, my handbook, it's 6.6 litres, and I've only just put in 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get another litre or so and top that up in the morning. I'll go and probably walk down to the place and get it. So yeah, that's probably why it's still saying to top up oil. It does say to top up as soon as possible. So if I've got 5 litres in there, I could probably drive this down to the place. It's only a couple of minutes drive, so I'm probably quite happy to do that. But I'm going to do one last thing, which is going to put some screen wash in, and I'll do some coolant probably tomorrow now. Alright, so I'm going to crack on with that last bit, and then we'll be done for the day. Alright guys, so what I've done is I've done a dilute mix of 50-50 water and screen fluid, and I'm going to attempt to do this one-handed. Now this is where it is. There is a little cap here. It does denote what it is. Okay, so you just put that in for your windscreen wash, and I'm going to pour that in until it fills to the top. Now you will spill this probably, so be careful. Again, funnels are always advised. Nice, fair old amount going in, isn't it? Now that, what is that? 1.5 litres gone straight down. So what I'm going to do is, because I think it was just a tad more water than it was concentrated liquid, so I'm just going to pour some of that concentrate down there. Right, so I filled that up now. That was just over about 1.75 litres. It's going to be plenty enough in there for the windscreen, so to do what we've got to do. So, really and truly, we've done quite a lot today. We have done the oil change with a replacement of the cartridge as well for the oil filter. We have done the pollen filter, or cabin filter, whichever you want to call it. I call it the pollen filter because it's supposed to stop pollen and all that, so the pollen filter. We've done the air filter, we've done screen wash. The only thing we haven't done is the antifreeze and coolant, because I got one that was a full concentrate and it wasn't mixed ready, so I'd have to get some ionised water, which I'll do tomorrow. The only other thing I'm going to do today, probably, or may do tomorrow, is I bought some of this. Again, I'm not endorsed by Car Lube or anything like that, but it was meant to be good for the injectors to be cleaned. Basically, all you do is you stuff this down, the whole thing. It says simply pour the entire contents into the fuel tank before filling up, and it treats approximately 50 litres, so I'll fill up 50 litres in the car, so it's bang on what it is. And it says it's suitable for all diesel engines. Don't mix with other fuel additives. But then, like I said, again, this is the one I've just got told to try, and I'm going to give it a whirl. So I'll do that probably tomorrow. Now, I do appreciate I've been wobbling on all today. My son's been helping me with this, and I've been doing this as well. But it's really and truly just to give you guys that are the same as me, that have not really ever done this. This is my very first ever service I've ever done, and my son's first ever service as well. So we just fancied like putting this out there for people that had never done this before. So yeah, appreciate any good comments, any feedback, but yeah, please be gentle. I'm sure there's many of you screaming at the screen for what I've been doing today, but like I said, hopefully it won't be too long-winded, and I'll edit it down as best I can. If not, appreciate staying to the end. Anyway, all the best, guys, and yeah, so this is Dad with a Spanner signing off. Okay guys, this is the last bit now. This is the coolant bit. Comes off the top, and you've got a max and a minimum line, and it's just down there. So I'm going to pop some in there, and you'll see in a second. Okay, so I had to use the whole bottle, and I've just literally got up to that point. This is what it's called, Blue Colu Clear Universal Antifreeze and Coolant. So basically, I put that all in there. Again, I'm not endorsed by them at all. Don't know any more about this. One's already ready mixed with deionised water for added convenience. So basically, it was ready to go. That's what I did it for, and I got it more convenient. It's about £4. Very easy to use. Right, And that's it for the car. I'm just going to top up some more oil on it tomorrow. Just to let you know, the brake fluid was absolutely fine. That was okay. That was at the back there, and that was all where it should be. And I've done the steering fluid, power steering fluid, and that was fine. Check that on the gauge there, and that was fine where it was as well. So everything's been done with the car. So excellent job. Good luck, guys, and signing off.